We all know how this duel ended.
Exodia! Obliterate!
But what if I told you the anime got it wrong? Seto Kaiba should have clearly won this duel. Now, the Duelist Kingdom arc gave us many unforgettable duels, but behind the drama and the friendship speeches, there are some things that we might have missed. But lucky for you, today we're going to uncover what really went down, and it all begins here, Yugi versus Kaiba. The duel that started it all, but could have ended very differently. 3 Blue Eyes, 1 Exodia, and a duel that made no sense until now. So let's pause, rewind, and find out what really happened. Yugi was fighting for more than just a win, because he was avenging his grandfather after Kaiba ripped his Blue Eyes White Dragon in half.
Grandpa's most treasured card!
But Kaiba, on the other hand, came into this duel with something else in mind: ego, power, and control. Seto didn't just want to win, he wanted to break Yugi's spirit, he wanted to crush him, leaving nothing left. But here's what the anime never showed you. The very same duel took place in the manga at the very end of Death Tea. The manga had way more context and depth, and a different side to Seto's personality which isn't shown in the anime. And honestly, after reading it, it's even more clear that Kaiba should have won. The duel begins with Kaiba summoning the Hitotsumi giant. Yugi swiftly counters with the winged dragon guardian of the fortress, but the anime left something out. Kaiba then proceeds to summon the wicked worm beast. Now, stat wise, the wicked worm beast was evenly matched with the winged dragon, so in theory both monsters had the potential to destroy each other. But despite all the odds, Yugi still managed to win this battle. And that's because the winged dragon had the ability to fly, giving it a 35% chance of evading the poisonous spray. Yugi then uses Fireball, incinerating the grotesque monster. Now, what I find really interesting is that this insignificant battle is actually very significant, because if you really think about it, it foreshadows Yugi and Seto's entire relationship. They are both equal in strength, but Yugi always finds a way to stay one step ahead. Now, this manga panel is brilliantly followed up with Kaiba's bitter reaction. As he realizes that he had underestimated Yugi, Kaiba then summons Sagi the Dark Clown and combines it with Negative Energy Generator. This combo triples Sagi's attack from 600 to 1800, causing Yugi to go on the defensive. Whilst Yugi's monsters are annihilated by Sagi, we get a glance at his hand and we see 3 pieces of Exodia. This is followed by Yugi drawing Gaia the Fierce Knight. Now, fun fact, according to the manga, Gaia is the most powerful card in the warrior class. But anyway, back to the duel. Gaia goes on and tears Sagi the Dark Clown apart. Now, at this stage of the duel, we might be thinking Yugi is definitely going to win. However, this victory is short-lived as Kaiba draws his first Blue Eyes White Dragon and easily defeats Yugi's Gaia. Now, this is both Kaiba's ace monster as well as the root cause of Kaiba's demise. You could say that Seto is relying on the White Dragon, a symbiotic relationship. Seto believes in the power of the Blue Eyes up until the illusion is shattered.
There, Kaiba. Maybe now you will begin to see.
And then he goes and searches for a new boss monster, which in this case is the fusion of all 3, the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. In the manga, Seto mentions that he was a champion before he attained the Blue Eyes White Dragon, stating clearly that he didn't need the Blue Eyes to win, which is ironic. His greatest weapon is also the reason he drops his guard. What isn't seen in the anime, but is evident in the manga, is that Seto is blinded by this idea of a perfect win. In this manga panel, Kaiba chooses not to attack Yugi in order to increase his army and summon his second Blue Eyes White Dragon. This adds to my point, that Kaiba's hubris was the factor to his downfall. Further backed up later when Seto clearly could have gone on the offensive, however chooses to play a monster in defense mode, as he wanted Blue Eyes to have the honor of finishing off Yugi. This to me implies defeating Yugi without the Blue Eyes wouldn't be satisfying, therefore not a victory in his eyes.
Why don't you just admit defeat, Yugi?
This is a flaw Kaiba consistently implements in his dueling strategy. Very similar to his loss against Yugi in Battle City, by Kaiba playing each card according to his strategy, he doesn't allow himself the flexibility which could be the deciding factor in many of his duels. Let's look at Ishizu vs Seto as an example. Seto's entire strategy is dependent on winning with the Egyptian god card, Obelisk the Tormentor. Now only when he was diverted from this strategy did it lead to success. With Yugi now facing 2 Blue Eyes White Dragons, he manages to draw Swords of Revealing Light.
Swords of Revealing Light! It stops all monsters on the field for 3 turns.
Imprisoning Kaiba's 2 Blue Eyes for 3 turns. Now you would think that Yugi is safe, but anything summoned after the activation of the spell card is still able to attack. Now in the manga, Seto had the opportunity to apply pressure on multiple occasions by attacking Yugi's last remaining defense. Instead, on multiple occasions, he allowed Yugi to recover by simply stalling, waiting for the perfect win. He was just too focused on defeating Yugi with his blue eyes, not recognizing that Yugi was also using that time to think of his next move. Does that make Kaiba predictable in his strategies? For example, in Battle City, Yugi was able to predict that Kaiba's strategy was relying on the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. And by the time Seto had summoned his 3rd Blue Eyes, Yugi had already accumulated 4 pieces of Exodia and was looking for the last piece, essentially meaning it was too late. Now as we know, with the power of friendship, Yugi managed to draw the last piece of Exodia and win. But I truly believe if Seto Kaiba had used those opportunities where Yugi was on the back foot and capitalized on those moments, he could have pressured Yugi into using one of the pieces of Exodia to protect his life points. You see, in the old format of Yu-Gi-Oh!, if you didn't have a monster to protect your life points, you would automatically lose. In conclusion, Yugi and Seto naturally have different playing styles. Yugi has a strong belief in his deck and his friends. This pushes Yugi to overcome any obstacle no matter how difficult. Seto, on the other hand, has a completely different philosophy. He believes in strategy and power in order to overwhelm his opponents. This has worked for Seto in the past and gotten him to where he is today. You could argue that Yugi has other methods for defeating the 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons. For example, the Mirror Force trap card, which Yugi first used against Weevil in his first duel in Duelist Kingdom. However, Seto already has pre-established counters in his deck. For example, he has the Negate Attack, which nullifies the effects of Mirror Force. I believe Seto had everything in his disposal to counter Yugi. However, in order to do so, he needed to overcome his own ego. For example, ask yourself this question. If Seto Kaiba knew that Yugi had Exodia in his deck from, let's say, a previous duel with Grandpa Moto, would this duel have gone the same way? Or would Kaiba still have toyed with his food, leading to his downfall? Guys, if you enjoyed this video and you actually believe that Seto Kaiba should have won the very first duel of Yu-Gi-Oh!, go hit that like button and subscribe. Until next time, guys.